This dozens of meters high tower of human heads is the bone temple forged by Voldemort on the wilderness over 28 years. After dragging the new sacrifice back to the temple, the fresh flesh and skin jelly is fed to the birds. Voldemort, meanwhile, boils the sacrifice's body while eating mysterious meat. Next, he carefully scrubs the remaining flesh off the bones. Once confirmed clean, he turns them into new ornaments. Eventually, they form this spectacular tower of human heads. But now, someone has set their sights on the bone temple and Voldemort.
Because if you can't help me with my problem, I'm going to force feed you your own intestines until you can no longer breathe.
Before the official explanation, let's briefly recap the plot of the first part. 28 years after the outbreak of the Rage virus, Britain was blockaded by the whole world. Survivors built a community on Lindisfarne Island. They gradually formed a survival order, marked by a coming-of-age ceremony of hunting the infected, and the young Spike, to save his seriously ill mother Ella, took her and fled the isolated island. They went to look for the legendary Dr. Ian Kelson. Later, the mother and son successfully found Kelson, but Kelson diagnosed Ella with a terminal illness, so he euthanized Ella while Spike was asleep, and added her skull to the bone temple. After separating from Kelson, Spike met with the infected while fishing in the wilderness. He was finally rescued by a mysterious blonde man and his group. Next comes the plot of the second part. Spike joined this survivor cult gang called the Jimmy Gang. Although he was taken back to their base, he still had to pass a test to stay. Most members of the Jimmy Gang were very twisted. They circled Spike wildly, swearing. It gave the boss a terrible headache. He roared for everyone to shut up, and said seriously that the next battle would be a fight for life and death. Spike thought he was being sent out to kill zombies, but he was told that to get his membership ticket, he had to defeat one of his accomplices. For the sake of fairness, everyone threw their knives aside. Spike was only allowed to fight with a dagger. Spike mustered up his courage and launched an attack. Unexpectedly, he was pinned to the ground in an instant. He begged the other person to let him go. Seeing how useless he was, everyone was amused. One of them even stepped on the dagger and laughed, saying he could play around all day. Spike flew into a rage and tore off his pants, then quickly stabbed the dagger into his leg. The man was enraged and shouted that he wanted revenge, but because he had never gone to school, he actually pulled the dagger out of his artery. Blood gushed out in an instant. The man panicked completely and kept repeating that he needed help, but no one else dared to move, until the boss gave the order. Watching the blood flow more and more, the man begged the boss desperately to save his life. The boss walked slowly forward from his throne. By the time he arrived, the man was already dead. The boss showed no sadness at all, only thinking that Spike had done well. He acknowledged Spike as a member of the Jimmy Gang. Then everyone moved to another location. They were even more terrifying than zombies, because at the sight of zombies, these bloodthirsty people's eyes lit up. Compared to the Jimmy Gang that went out in groups, there were actually many individual survivors. To survive, they had to enter the forest to hunt. The man in front of them was very cautious. He thought his luck wouldn't be that bad. The horde of zombies chased the man frantically. Unluckily, the fleeing man tripped over a stone. He begged the zombies in front of him to spare his life. Little did he know that this act was nothing but provocation in the zombies' eyes. The zombies angrily grabbed his legs and pulled him back. They even pulled out his whole spine. Then the zombies began to feast on him. There are several types of zombies. Most are mindless ordinary zombies. Only a small number of zombies retain some human intelligence. These zombies are regarded as leaders by default. Humans call them alphas. Just like humans, there are smart ones and stupid ones. The man who got eaten could only be considered a low-level player, because high-level players always take precautions before going out. In the apocalypse, Dr. Ian covered himself with iodine every time before going out. To cover up his human scent as much as possible, he went to the abandoned train to look for corpses. He headed back once he had collected enough. If he heard the slightest sound on the way, he immediately raised his weapon to defend himself. The alpha had never been treated like this. It roared and rushed forward to eat him. Ian had no choice but to attack again. The arrows he shot were laced with anesthetics. 2 seconds later, the alpha became dazed and felt calmer than ever. Ian took the opportunity to step forward and treat its wound. He pulled the arrow out of its body. After that, he said that a doctor's benevolence means free treatment. The service was simply excellent. But Ian didn't stay long. He had important business to attend to. He's probably the only one who upholds the ritual of human civilization. he provides a full set of free cremation services for the deceased, piling their skulls high up. After years of hard work, he had built a spectacular memorial tower to express reverence and mourning for life, and every time he felt tired and couldn't go on living, Ian would go down into his underground base. There was electricity to play music, as well as photos of his late relatives. After calming down, Ian went above ground, ready to study the Alpha again. He wanted to see if he could reverse the infection. He walked to the woods and waited. Since he had anesthetized it not once or twice, the Alpha seemed to have grown fond of this feeling. Just like how humans can be addicted to smoking, in order to get more doses, the Alpha didn't roar, nor did it show any intention to attack. Seeing how obedient it was, Ian immediately rewarded it with an anesthetic dart. With this, they could even sit side by the river, enjoying the breeze. Ian asked the Alpha if it could understand him, and if it could remember its past when calm. Then he asked a series of questions, but it remained silent. He wished more than anything that the Alpha could speak, even just one word, to prove that it still had humanity inside. Afterwards, Ian made a bold decision and fell asleep on the grass. When he woke up again, he quickly touched his head to check if any part was missing, and found everything was intact. He shouted that it was simply a miracle. After returning to the base, he applied more anesthetic to his arrows. The next day, shortly after Ian woke up, he saw the Alpha approaching with animal remains. It was now quite human-like, knowing not to come empty-handed when asking for favors. Ian excitedly sat and chatted with the Alpha on the grass. After talking for a while, they even started dancing. Who would have thought that in a country fallen and overrun by zombies, anesthetics could bring so many surprises? Meanwhile, 3 humans formed a team to hunt in the forest. Unluckily, before finding any food, they spotted a zombie foraging alone. If it roared, all nearby zombies would rush over at high speed, but hiding forever wasn't an option. These creatures had quite a sharp sense of smell sometimes, so the elder among the 3 took the initiative to attack. Since he failed to kill it in one strike, the zombie still let out a cry. The cry attracted other zombies. The other 2 saw the situation was bad, and ran for their lives. As more and more zombies gathered, the elder collapsed and shouted not to leave him. But in the apocalypse, human nature is unpredictable. The 2 young men had to reluctantly use him to draw the fire. The elder had no choice but to fight back desperately. Unexpectedly, the zombie's blood sprayed into his mouth. He spat out a big mouthful of blood and water in agony. Then he became one of the zombies. By then, the 2 young men had run back to the shelter. They were about to break the bad news that the elder wouldn't come back, but were told they had guests, and the so-called guests were the members of the Jimmy gang. They had arrived completely uninvited. Seeing these people speaking vulgarities at the table, the family in the shelter was too scared to breathe. The boss noticed the awkward atmosphere and took the initiative to ask Linda, who wore butterfly wings, to dance. Linda's dance was stiff and unusual. The people in the shelter still didn't dare to make a sound. Just then, Mary, who had just come back from hunting, couldn't take it anymore. She demanded to know when the Jimmy gang would leave. The boss replied firmly that they would leave when the whole family was dead. The boss showed no expression at all, because these small fries weren't worth his effort. When Mary saw the fight break out, her first reaction was to escape in the chaos, because she was pregnant and needed to protect the baby in her belly. Soon, the Jimmy gang captured all the resistors. They were going to take them to do something different. Lily, with a cross on her head, wanted to know how it would work, but she was told to find other shelters with people. Lily left reluctantly. She was looking for a way to let out her anger, when a zombie appeared in front of her. Ian was singing to the Alpha, and it was sitting quietly beside him. This scene was just seen by Lily, who had come looking. Could Ian be the Jimmy gang's next target? At this point, the boss was preaching his evil theory. The bound people just thought this man was crazy. Little did they know that a cruel hell awaited them. After the boss finished speaking, he ordered his members to put on masks. Spike obediently did so to fit in, but when he saw the members skillfully peeling the skin off the rebels' chests, he couldn't take it anymore, rushed out, and knelt on the ground vomiting violently. Lily, who had gone to scout the way, came back. She told Spike to be braver, as this was the Jimmy gang's job, but Spike still said he couldn't do it. At night, Ian still hadn't parted from the Alpha. It felt like the 2 of them were already living together. Ian regarded the Alpha as his friend, but the problem now was that there wasn't much anesthetic left. It would probably be completely used up in a few days. Over the past 20 years, he had searched everywhere for medicine boxes within dozens of miles. He had already searched every single place. What he had in his hand was the last stock, Once the anesthetic ran out, they might no longer be able to chat side by side. Ian could give his friend a dignified end, help find a good place for its skull in the memorial hall, but the Alpha didn't respond at all. Feeling that the drug effect was wearing off, Ian wanted to give it another dose, only to be surprised to find that it spoke. Although it was only the short word moon, Ian was still moved to tears. On the other side, the Jimmy gang was still carrying out their abuse. Spike felt nauseous and vomited non-stop, and Mary was spying not far away. Seeing her parents suffering inhuman abuse, she dared not expose herself and could only shed tears silently. At this point, the boss thought of something more fun. He knew that Mary's husband Jack was unconvinced, so he asked him to fight his man. If he won, he could take that man's place, but if he lost, he would be tortured. And of course, the same fate awaited him if he refused. Jack knew this was his only chance to survive, so he nodded. The boss told him to choose his opponent. He looked around and knew clearly he couldn't choose any man, so he chose Linda. Upon hearing this, she smiled and cut Jack's ropes. She even kindly put a knife in his hand. Jack had no choice but to step up, but he was no match for Linda at all. Linda had survived this long not by luck. She had to kill zombies and survive countless trials within the gang. Against a weakling like Jack, she could kill him while playing around. But she then suggested stripping Jack's pants to mock him, before killing him. But a sharp pain suddenly hit her head. Linda said in disbelief that she was actually going to die, then she collapsed to the ground. The other members looked up and saw Mary, who had launched the sneak attack. Everyone hated people who didn't follow the rules, so they rushed at her like madmen. Amid the chaos, Jack crawled forward and picked up a gas tank. He made a flamethrower using a light bulb. The member standing in front was instantly engulfed in flames, letting out a terrible scream. The others quickly shot Jack. Meanwhile, Spike was eating outside. He had no idea the Jimmy gang had lost 2 men, due to their own evil deeds. He was still thinking about what to do next. Suddenly, the burning member rushed out, before anyone could react. The whole warehouse was engulfed in flames. The remaining members abandoned the hunt and fled the warehouse as fast as they could. The boss lay on the ground coughing violently. When he saw Mary running past, he immediately ordered Spike to catch her. Spike caught up with Mary and drew his bow at her, but he soon lowered his weapon and asked Mary to take him away. She held out her hand, approached slowly, then attacked him when he was off guard. She then unlocked the lock and disappeared into the dark. After this incident, the Jimmy gang lost many key members. The boss roared at the sky in anger. Just then, Spike walked over. The boss scolded him for failing to catch Mary. Spike lied that he had shot Mary dead with an arrow. He wanted to know where the body was. Spike said it was too dark to remember exactly where in the forest. The boss flew into a rage and questioned why he hadn't skinned the face after killing, and why he kept crying. It was the behavior of a coward. The boss thought they should ask the old man how to deal with Spike. The old man here referred to the master of the Bone Temple. The Jimmy gang believed in a cult, and regarded the one who built the temple with bones as a god. Lily defended Spike and didn't want him to die here, so she quickly said she had seen the old man.
He had red skin, and he was aged, and he had this great building of human bones behind him.
And he was cavorting with one of his very own demons.
Lily's voice became more and more agitated. She believed Dr. Ian must be the master of the temple, otherwise, why would the powerful Alpha be willing to be his slave? The next day, the Alpha woke up from sleep. He felt a little hungry, so he went to the grass to pick wild fruits. He even wiped his hands before eating. It was a huge change. Did it mean zombies had the possibility to fully regain their humanity? At this point, Ian was recording data in the base, thinking the Alpha might have woken up. He quickly took the anesthetic and went out to look for it, but it seemed to have already left. He continued wandering around nearby, completely unaware that the Jimmy gang was watching not far away. The boss couldn't confirm whether Ian was the old man they were looking for. After looking through the telescope for a while, he said yes, Ian was the old man. The reason they couldn't find him before was that this guy had several palaces. He didn't necessarily stay in any one of them.
This one must be new, which is why I didn't know about it already.
Whether the others believed him or not, Spike could tell the boss was talking nonsense. He knew Ian was a doctor. It was him who cremated his seriously ill mother. Just then, the boss suggested talking to the old man alone first. The reason was that he wasn't sure if the man wanted to meet his followers. With that, he turned and left. He walked under the tall tower, inspected carefully, felt he had found the right person, and stepped forward to talk to Ian. He asked if he was the master of the Bone Temple. Ian replied no, he had never heard of such a thing at all. The boss thought he was joking on purpose. Ian wondered if the master of the Bone Temple meant Satan. Did they think he was Satan? Just because his skin color was different, but he was only a doctor, the kind who heals and saves lives, and the tall tower built with bones, was all to commemorate the dead. The boss was greatly shocked. He hadn't expected they had really found the wrong person, but he couldn't go back empty-handed like that. Without an explanation, he suggested sitting down and talking with Ian for a while. On the other side, Spike was worried about the doctor, so he asked Lily quietly, "What if the man down there isn't the old man?" Lily thought the question was strange. Who else but Satan would have red skin? Who built the terrifying bone temple, and made the Alpha obey his every order? Besides, the boss had always told the gang that he was Satan's son. They were probably busy reuniting his father and son. Spike said seriously that Ian was just an ordinary old man. Lily thought carefully and began to doubt, because when the boss looked down through the telescope earlier, he searched for a long time without finding anything important. That was indeed strange. At this point, the boss was talking to Ian, saying that when he was little, his mother and younger sister, who had stayed in the church, were killed. His father was so angry that he led a huge army of zombies to fight. That was the last time he saw his father. In fact, he wasn't sure where his father had gone afterwards. The problem now was that he had already told his men that he had found Satan, his father.
Because if you can't help me with my problem, I'm going to force feed you your own intestines until you can no longer breathe.
Late at night, the boss went back and told his members that the old man was willing to meet them, after making some preparations, but there were a few rules to emphasize. He was sacred and inviolable, so no one was allowed to touch him, and only his son could pass on messages. Otherwise, they would be devoured by the fires of hell, and their souls would be cast into the 18th level of hell. Meanwhile, Ian was troubled by the sudden trouble. He was afraid he might die at the hands of his own kind, so he wanted to carry out his experiment ahead of time. Ever since the zombie virus broke out, he had been thinking about one thing: why did zombies kill harmless cubs, even when they weren't hungry? Could it be that zombies could see something that didn't exist, and thought they were going to be attacked? Wasn't this kind of condition just mental illness? So Ian wanted to give the Alpha psychiatric treatment by giving it psychiatric medication. The next day, Spike took his luggage and sneaked away, while the others were still asleep. Unexpectedly, he ran into a zombie while fleeing. He immediately pulled out his knife and stabbed wildly at the zombie's waist. After killing the zombie, a member who had followed him attacked. The member thought he was just trying to run away, and gave him no chance to defend himself. He tried to stab a knife through his heart. At the critical moment, Lily came to help. After killing the member, she asked Spike where he really wanted to go. He replied that anywhere was fine. It was better than following the crazy boss. Lily insisted that Spike stay by her side. With zombies running rampant outside, with her protection, Spike would have a higher chance of survival. After returning, the two agreed on a story that the member was afraid to meet the old man, so he tried to escape before everyone woke up, and she and Spike killed him together. The boss was a bit skeptical, but Lily acted so calmly. She firmly said that the member had wanted to defect. He had even attacked his own companions. They had no choice but to fight back. By now, most of the Jimmy gang members were dead. The boss had no choice but to say he would ask the old man about it later. On the other side, Ian was looking everywhere for the Alpha, wondering if there had been any changes in it, but he called out for a long time and got no reply. At this point, the Alpha was washing its face by the river. It was shocked to realize that it seemed different from before. It stood up, looked around, and felt the breeze blowing. It couldn't shake the feeling that a certain place was calling to it. It ran all the way into the abandoned train carriage. Everything here felt familiar to it. It found one of the seats and sat down. As it looked out the window, some memories came back to it. Back then, it had been a child. When the conductor came to check its ticket, it turned into a young man. The next second, the noisy carriage fell into dead silence.
Ticket!
This memory was truly terrifying. The Alpha tried to calm itself down, but when it looked up, it saw terrifying zombies all in front of it.
I have a ticket.
The Alpha had to wrestle with the attacking zombies. It was big and strong, and could hold its own at first, but the number of zombies was simply too great. They not only spat blood and water at its face, they also jumped onto its back and bit its skin. The Alpha flew into a rage and fought back wildly. Meanwhile, Ian was forced to help the boss, to make his place look more upscale. He made a lot of lights. When the members of the Ginny gang arrived, they were all shocked by the scene in front of them. With the lights hung up, this place really looked just like a temple. The boss was very satisfied with this. He told his members not to touch anything and follow him. They arrived in front of the inverted cross, wondering when the old man would appear. A deep voice suddenly sounded around them. The contents sounded like a demon incantation. Actually, It was all thanks to the record player. Just then, Ian stepped out in a dramatic appearance. He had purposely painted big dark circles around his eyes and performed a bizarre dance. At this point, the boss told his members to sway along, but an even more amazing performance was yet to come. While everyone was swaying passionately, they were shocked to find that the old man had disappeared, so they quickly searched everywhere. When everything calmed down, the boss looked at his still shocked members and laughed out loud. Those who didn't know the truth believed it completely. They thought everything the boss had said before was true. When they heard the old man calling them, they obediently came forward and lined up, and knelt down when told, completely obedient, and Ian followed the script, and gave the boss plenty of face. He said his own son didn't need to kneel. The boss was secretly pleased and asked if there was any important mission before they left. Ian continued with the act and ordered the Jimmy gang to carry on with their evil mission. The boss was very satisfied and said they would surely remember their mission, to skin and disembowel as many humans as possible. Ian was stunned. Humans were already few and far between, killed by zombies. He never expected there to be such a crazy cult, but he had to go along with it, because he couldn't die yet. The boss thought it was about time, and wanted to take his members away, but Ian suddenly stopped everyone. He then walked up to Spike and took off his mask, confirming it was really Spike. Ian said he had one more task. The boss hurriedly stepped forward in panic. He thought the current tasks were enough. Ian insisted he had another request. He needed a sacrifice.
For God's only Son to ascend and take his place by his Father's side, Christ was first required to be crucified.
Ian wanted his own son to do the same. Lily thought it made sense and nodded in approval, and she was the one the old man had chosen to do it. The boss panicked. He knew the man wanted him crucified to death, so he shouted at Lily not to act yet.
Do you really think this gangly old fucker is Satan?
With that, the boss suddenly attacked Ian, shouting that no knife could hurt Satan. In truth, he was the real devil. He ordered his member to kill Lily. The member was persuaded and moved to attack, but was killed in reverse as soon as she approached. Seeing her boyfriend dead, another member rushed forward madly, but she was no match for Lily either. Lily wanted to keep attacking the boss, but saw Spike stab the boss in the waist first. He then ran to the old man and asked what was going on. Lily asked in surprise if the two knew each other. Ian told them the truth. He exclaimed that the performance just now was wonderful. At this point, Spike asked Ian why he had stopped them suddenly.
Suddenly, I saw it was you behind the mask, Spike. I think you've suffered enough.
In the end, Lily and Spike nailed the boss to the cross. On the verge of death, the boss cried and said he missed his mother, only to see Satan approaching him. But it was actually the Alpha who came. It expressed its gratitude to Ian. Ian breathed his last after saying, "Remember that you'll die eventually." The Alpha picked up Ian's body. The boss, seeing this scene, shouted not to leave. Why did they leave him behind every time? Jim, the main character of the first season, was tutoring his daughter in history. When they heard roars coming from outside, he and his daughter quickly took their weapons and went outside. They saw Spike and the other being chased by zombies. His daughter asked if they should help, and Jim gave a positive answer. The film ends here. There aren't many zombie scenes in this film. Instead, it uses the zombie movie genre to focus on reflections on human nature, power, and civilization. When social order collapses, human cruelty and madness can be even more terrifying than zombies. The Jimmy Gang is murderous, committing evil deeds in the name of justice. In their eyes, the Bone Temple is a throne of power, but in the Doctor's eyes, it's a memorial tower for the deceased, a tombstone of human civilization. It's the same object, yet it reveals the two extremes of human nature. If you like my channel, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe.